This title is narrated with virtual voice, computer-generated narration for audiobooks. The Rise, Fall, and Rebirth of Hair Metal by Christopher P. Hilton. Prologue. Moscow Music Peace Festival, August 13, 1989. Drenched in sweat. The makeup slowly bled down his face as the larger-than-life rock star boldly stood on stage and gazed out at the swarm of over 100,000 heavy metal rock and roll fanatics chanting his band's name in ear-piercing unison, literally begging the group to continue its musical assault. Dressed to kill in leather pants and a brazen studded belt, Nikki Sixx brushed the high, teased hair out of his face and briefly paused, futilely attempting to take in the immense grandeur of the moment. Nearly 9 years prior, he had arisen from a broken family and a homeless life on the streets of Los Angeles to form Motley Crue, a group of misfits that would look, sound, and act unlike any band that came before them. For his part, Sixx would become perhaps the founding architect of the absolutely massive hair metal movement that was about to be birthed on Hollywood's Sunset Boulevard and surge to worldwide dominance during the following decade. Over the course of the outrageously wild ride, there would be enormous highs and equally extensive lows, including every form of excess imaginable: sex, partying, rock and roll, alcohol, drugs, and even deaths, not the least of which was his own, at least for a few minutes anyway. But standing on stage at that moment, as one of a select number of high-profile bands privileged with performing the first-ever rock show in the Soviet Union, Sixx and his bandmates had finally ascended to the proverbial top of the mountain. Indeed, in just 18 days, Motley Crue's new album, Dr. Feel Good, would unleash itself upon the world and soar all the way to the #1 position on the Billboard Albums chart, eventually selling over 6 million copies. The band would successfully launch a colossal world tour in support of the record, playing to throngs of worshipping fans in sold-out arenas across North America, Europe, Australia, and Asia. In the coming year, they would place no fewer than 5 hit singles on the radio and receive practically endless airplay on MTV. Motley Crue, along with many of their contemporary hair band Goliaths of the time, were kings of the music world, living a real-life dream that was often more remarkable than fiction. The hair metal genre they represented had spiraled out of control to become so immensely successful and culturally relevant that it literally changed millions of people's lives. But little did they realize it was all about to suddenly and violently implode in a spectacularly mind-blowing fall from grace. And not just from Motley Crue, but for nearly every single hair metal band on the planet. Almost overnight, between late 1991 and early 1992, their style of music would abruptly and fiercely go so far out of fashion as to render anything and everyone even remotely associated with it an obsolete, outdated, laughingstock. Countless hair bands would collapse, disintegrate, or splinter under the weight of suddenly non-existent sales. Many of those who attempted to struggle on were promptly and caustically dropped from their record labels and reduced from playing sold-out arenas to half-full woodsheds at best. Radio and MTV instantly and entirely cast the genre aside like the plague, with a reckless abandonment never previously thrust upon a musical style that just years before was churning out multitudes of platinum-selling albums. The dark times would last almost a full decade during the 90s, as other musical styles such as grunge and alternative served as new gods to worship, presenting themselves as the complete 180-degree antithesis of everything that 80s rock had stood for and symbolized. But then, seemingly against all the odds, a peculiar sentiment began to arise near the turn of the century. People suddenly appeared poised to welcome back a musical culture of optimism and merriment.
Para seguir escuchando este audiolibro gratuitamente, haz clic en el enlace de la descripción y podrás escucharlo completo sin coste gracias a la prueba de 30 días de Audible.